Ladies, let me start by saying this. Absence has power. It's a tool, not a weapon. When used correctly, it can create clarity, evoke emotions, and set the stage for meaningful connection. When you pull back, when you step away, not out of manipulation, but as a reflection of self-respect, you give a man the space to feel the weight of your presence through your absence. Now let's talk about how your absence triggers a man's emotions and shifts the dynamic in profound ways. When you step away from a man, your absence creates a space that forces him to confront his emotions. It's human nature to feel the weight of something only when it's no longer present. When you are constantly there, your presence can blend into the background of his daily life, becoming something he subconsciously assumes will always be there. But when you pull back, even slightly, he is left with an emotional void. And in that emptiness, he begins to feel the impact of your absence. It's in those quiet moments when he doesn't hear your voice or feel your presence that his true emotions begin to surface. A man who values you will quickly notice the change. Without you consistently being there, he is forced to reflect on how much you've added to his life. He may not have fully realized the comfort, joy, and support you brought while you were present, but your absence highlights it in ways he cannot ignore. It's like losing a light in a dark room. Only then does he truly understand how much brighter his life was with you in it. This emotional confrontation is not something he can easily escape from because your absence doesn't allow for distractions or avoidance. Instead, it leaves him with his thoughts, memories, and feelings about you. In the silence created by your distance, he will find himself thinking about you more than he expected. He will replay conversations, remember moments, and feel the loss of the connection you once shared. This isn't about playing games or manipulating emotions. It's about creating a necessary pause that allows him to process his feelings without the constant noise of everyday interactions. In this pause, he may begin to ask himself important questions. How much does he care about you? What does your presence mean to him? What does he feel when you're not there? These questions are essential for him to clarify his emotions. And without the space your absence creates, he might never take the time to truly answer them. Your absence also gives him the opportunity to recognize the impact you've had on his emotional world. Often, when we're consistently present in someone's life, the depth of our contributions can go unnoticed simply because they're always there. When you step back, he starts to notice the absence of your laughter, the lack of your support, and the emptiness of not having you to share moments with. This recognition forces him to confront not just what he feels, but also what he might lose if he doesn't acknowledge or nurture the connection. In confronting these emotions, he's also challenged to assess his own actions and behavior. He may realize areas where he hasn't been as attentive, appreciative, or engaged as he could have been. The absence creates a mirror, reflecting back at him what he may need to change or improve if he wants to keep you in his life. It becomes an opportunity for growth, not just in the relationship, but also within himself. He's given the chance to see his own feelings and actions clearly, which is something he might not have done while you were constantly present. This emotional confrontation isn't always comfortable for him, but it's necessary. It's in these moments of reflection that he begins to understand the depth of his emotions. He may realize just how much he misses you, how deeply he values you, and how significant you are in his life. These realizations are powerful, and they only occur because your absence has created the space for them to emerge. Without that space, he might continue on autopilot, taking your presence for granted and never fully appreciating the emotional connection he has with you. By stepping away, you allow him to truly feel and process the emotions tied to your absence. When you create distance from a man, your absence naturally creates mystery, and that mystery triggers curiosity and intrigue in his mind. As human beings, we are wired to seek answers and clarity, especially when something we value feels uncertain or out of reach. When you step back and focus on yourself, you remove the predictability of always being available or accessible. Suddenly, he doesn't have the same level of insight into your life, your thoughts, or your plans, and this change can stir a deep desire to know more. Men are naturally drawn to a sense of challenge and pursuit. And when you are no longer an open book, it awakens this instinct. By creating a bit of distance, you shift the dynamic in a way that makes him more curious about you. He'll start to wonder about the details of your life, what you're doing, who you're spending time with, and how you're feeling. This isn't about manipulating or creating unnecessary drama. It's about allowing the natural dynamics of curiosity and attraction to come into play. The less he knows, the more he wants to know. When you're not constantly updating him on your whereabouts or what's happening in your life, it also leaves room for him to reflect on what he does know about you. He may start to recall the things you've shared in the past, paying closer attention to the details he might have overlooked before. This space for reflection deepens his intrigue because it gives him a chance to re-engage mentally and emotionally. He may find himself replaying conversations, remembering your laughter, or thinking about the unique things that make you you. These memories become even more vivid when you're not immediately available, making him realize how much he appreciates those moments. Mystery also challenges him to step up and invest more effort into understanding you. When everything about you is easily accessible, there's no reason for him to actively engage or seek deeper connection. But when there's an element of uncertainty, it forces him to take initiative. He'll find himself wanting to ask more questions, initiate more contact, and pay closer attention to what you do share when you do choose to engage with him. In this sense of active pursuit can reignite his interest and deepen his emotional investment in the relationship. A powerful aspect of mystery is how it allows you to showcase your independence and individuality. When you pull back and focus on your own life, passions, and goals, it reminds him that you are a whole, complete person outside of the relationship. This realization can be both humbling and inspiring for a man. He'll see that your world doesn't revolve around him, which can spark admiration and respect. He'll be drawn to the fact that you're not dependent on his attention or validation to feel fulfilled, making you even more attractive in his eyes. Creating mystery through absence also shifts the power dynamic in subtle yet meaningful ways. It shows that you value your time, energy, and boundaries, which can make him reevaluate how he approaches you and the relationship. If he's been taking your presence for granted, this space can serve as a wake-up call, reminding him that access to you is a privilege, not a guarantee. This doesn't mean playing games or withholding affection. It's about allowing him to experience the natural consequences of not having you readily available, which often triggers a deeper appreciation for who you are and what you bring to his life. Mystery also makes every interaction more meaningful when you do engage with him. Because he doesn't have constant access to you, the moments when you do connect become more special. He'll listen more intently, cherish your presence, and work harder to maintain the bond. This heightened sense of value and appreciation wouldn't happen if everything about you was always within his reach. By allowing yourself to be a little less accessible, you create an aura of depth and intrigue that keeps him emotionally engaged. When you step away from a man, your absence gives him the opportunity to truly appreciate your value. In relationships, it's easy for one's presence to become routine, almost like the air we breathe, constant and reliable, but often unnoticed. When you're always there, it can be difficult for someone to fully grasp what you bring to their life because there's no contrast, no chance to feel what life is like without you. By creating space and stepping back, you give a man the ability to reflect on how much you mean to him and the unique qualities that make you irreplaceable. Absence allows him to experience the void left behind when you're no longer readily available. It's not just about missing you in a superficial sense, like the absence of your text messages or phone calls, but rather the absence of the energy and presence you bring into his life. The way you support him, encourage him, listen to him, or simply make him feel understood. All of that comes into sharper focus when it's no longer there. He begins to notice the emotional comfort you provide and how much stability or joy you add into his daily routine. These realizations don't happen when your presence is constant because familiarity often dulls the ability to appreciate what's in front of us. When you take a step back, it forces him to compare his life with you to his life without you. He may find himself feeling less inspired, less supported, or even less motivated without your influence. It's in this space that he starts to connect the dots and understand how much you've been contributing to his overall sense of well-being. Whether it's the way you uplift his mood, help him see things from a different perspective, or simply make life feel lighter and more enjoyable, your absence shines a spotlight on those things in a way your presence never could. This is where true appreciation begins to take root, because it's based on genuine awareness rather than obligation or routine. Your absence also challenges him to reflect on the qualities that make you unique. Maybe it's your kindness, your intelligence, your humor, or your ability to remain calm in stressful situations. Whatever it is, those qualities stand out more clearly when he doesn't have immediate access to them. He might start to notice how other people in his life don't quite match up to the standard you set. Whether it's the way you communicate, the depth of your connection, or the way you make him feel seen and valued, your absence gives him the space to fully acknowledge the qualities that make you special. It also creates an opportunity for him to evaluate how he's been treating you. When you're not there, he has to consider whether he's been showing enough appreciation for everything you bring to the table. Has he been taking you for granted? Has he made the effort to express how much he values you? These are questions he's forced to confront when the dynamic shifts and he no longer has the comfort of your constant presence. This reflection can be a powerful motivator for him to change his behavior and step up in ways he hadn't before. Absence also highlights the difference between someone who truly values you and someone who doesn't. A man who genuinely cares will use that space to reflect on what he can do to show you how much he appreciates you when the opportunity arises again. On the other hand, someone who doesn't value you as deeply might not feel the same impact, which is equally revealing. Either way, your absence becomes a filter, allowing you to see who genuinely recognizes your worth and who doesn't. Stepping away creates a sense of longing in his heart, and with longing comes clarity. It's in those moments of missing you that he gains a deeper understanding of how much he cherishes having you in his life. It's not about making him work for your attention or playing hard to get it. It's about giving both of you the chance to truly see and value what you bring to the connection. When he experiences the contrast between having you in his life and not, the depth of his appreciation grows. This realization strengthens the bond and lays the foundation for a deeper, more meaningful connection moving forward. When you create distance from a man, your absence shifts the balance of power in the relationship. This shift isn't about control or manipulation. It's about reclaiming your value and resetting the dynamic to ensure that mutual respect and effort are at the foundation of the connection. Often, when someone becomes overly available, they risk tipping the scales of the relationship dynamic, unintentionally giving away too much of their energy and focus. When you step back, you're signaling that you recognize your worth and that you will no longer overextend yourself in a space where there is imbalance. This shift begins with self-awareness. By stepping away, you communicate that you are no longer willing to be in a situation where your efforts outweigh his. Your absence serves as a message that you respect yourself enough to prioritize your own peace and well-being. This decision is not about punishing him or forcing his hand, but about reestablishing your boundaries and standards. In doing so, you allow the dynamic to shift in a way that invites him to reflect on his own actions, effort, and investment in the relationship. For a man, this shift can be eye-opening. When you step back, he's forced to notice the imbalance that may have existed without fully realizing it before. If he has been taking your presence for granted, your absence makes it clear that access to your time, energy, and attention is not unconditional. This realization can be powerful because it reminds him that you're not someone who will settle for being underappreciated or undervalued. Your decision to step back sends a message that mutual effort and respect are non-negotiable, and if he wants to be in your life, he needs to rise to meet you on that level. Absence also creates space for him to take action. When you're always available, there's often little incentive for him to step up because everything is already being done for him. By pulling back, you shift the responsibility to him to decide what he wants and how he's willing to show up. This allows him to reflect on whether he's been actively contributing to the connection or passively benefiting from your effort. If he values you, he will feel the urge to take initiative, whether it's through reaching out, making plans, or simply showing more appreciation. This shift is necessary for building a healthier and more balanced relationship dynamic. Your absence also helps you regain control over your emotional energy. When you're constantly pouring into someone without receiving the same in return, it can leave you feeling depleted and undervalued. Stepping back allows you to redirect that energy toward yourself. It gives you the opportunity to focus on your own goals, passions, and self-care. This act of prioritizing yourself naturally shifts the dynamic because it demonstrates that your happiness and fulfillment do not depend on his presence. This independence and self-assuredness are incredibly attractive, and they reinforce the idea that you are a person of high value who will not compromise your worth for the sake of someone else. For him, this shift can be humbling. He may begin to recognize where he has fallen short and what he stands to lose if he doesn't make an effort to meet you where you are. It's not uncommon for someone to only realize the gravity of their actions or inactions when faced with the possibility of losing something meaningful. Your absence creates that moment of clarity, forcing him to evaluate how much he values the connection and what he's willing to do to preserve it. This reflection can inspire growth both within himself and in the way he approaches the relationship moving forward. This shift in power also ensures that you're not settling for a one-sided dynamic. By stepping back, you demonstrate that you're willing to let go of a situation that isn't serving you, even if it means creating distance from someone you care about. This level of self-respect is not only empowering for you, but also sets the standard for how others should treat you. It shows that you value yourself enough to demand balance, effort, and reciprocity in any relationship. For a man who truly cares about you, this realization will motivate him to step into a role where he is not just a passive participant, but an active contributor to the connection. When you create distance and allow a man to experience your absence, it deepens his longing and appreciation for you in ways that constant presence cannot achieve. Being away from you provides him with the emotional space to reflect on what you mean to him and how much value you bring to his life. This isn't about playing games or trying to manipulate his emotions. It's about giving him the chance to genuinely miss you and recognize the unique role you play in his world. Sometimes it takes stepping back for someone to realize just how much they care and how important you are to them. Absence is powerful because it amplifies the emotions connected to the bond you share. When you're not around, he is forced to notice the little things he might have taken for granted: your laugh, your kindness, the way you make him feel seen and understood. These memories and feelings surface in your absence and often become more vivid because they're no longer competing with the routine of your presence. Without you there, he has the time and mental clarity to reflect on the qualities that make you stand out, and this reflection often leads to a deeper appreciation for who you are. When someone experiences longing, they become more aware of the value of what they're missing. Your absence creates a contrast that allows them to compare what life feels like with you versus without you. The moments of connection, laughter, and support that seem ordinary when they were happening now feel extraordinary in hindsight. This contrast is what deepens his sense of appreciation. It's not that he didn't value you before, but being apart brings those feelings into sharper focus. He begins to recognize much brighter, easier, or more meaningful his life feels when you're a part of it. Longing also stirs emotions in a way that can create a stronger bond. When he misses you, he may start to feel a deeper emotional connection because those feelings are rooted in his genuine experiences and memories of you. This longing isn't just about physical presence, it's about the emotional fulfillment he associates with being around you. Whether it's the way you made him feel safe, inspired him, or brought joy into his life. These are the emotions that rise to the surface when you're not there. And because these feelings come from within him, they're more powerful and lasting than anything that could be created by words or actions alone. Your absence also allows him to take accountability for his feelings. Instead of relying on you to constantly nurture the relationship or remind him of your importance, he's left to process those emotions on his own. This self-awareness is essential for fostering a genuine and balanced connection. It encourages him to take a step back and think about what he values, what he wants, and how he's willing to show up in the relationship. Longing is a catalyst for this kind of introspection because it forces him to confront his feelings without any external prompting or pressure. Appreciation often grows stronger in moments of absence because it's rooted in the realization of what could be lost. When you're always present, it's easy for someone to assume that you'll always be there. But when you step away, even temporarily, it introduces the possibility that your presence is not guaranteed. This is not about creating fear, but about highlighting the value of what he has. People tend to cherish what they perceive as rare or special, and your absence can help him see just how irreplaceable you are. By stepping back, you're giving him the opportunity to come to these realizations on his own terms. It's not about forcing him to feel a certain way, but about creating the space for his natural emotions to surface. When he feels that longing and starts to appreciate you on a deeper level, it strengthens the foundation of the relationship. He'll come to understand that his connection with you is not something to be taken lightly, and this awareness often leads to a greater sense of commitment, effort, and emotional investment moving forward.